#Millionaire Cowboy finds freezing nurse at train station. Their love story made history. The bitter Montana wind howled across the empty platform as Emma Sullivan clutched her thin coat tighter, tears freezing on her cheeks. She had lost everything that night, her job, her apartment, and now the last train had departed without her. Little did she know that the approaching headlights belonged to Jackson Reed, the notoriously reclusive cattle baron whose chance encounter with her would change both their lives forever and inspire millions around the world. If you're touched by what you're about to witness, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our community of storytellers. Your support helps us share more extraordinary true love stories that remind us all that hope appears when we least expect it. Emma had never felt so alone. At 32, the dedicated ER nurse had spent the last decade putting everyone else first, her patients, her alcoholic mother, even the hospital administration that had just terminated her for insubordination after she questioned unsafe staffing levels. The irony wasn't lost on her that after saving countless lives, she now stood freezing in Coldwater Junction with nowhere to go, her meager savings barely enough for a bus ticket to anywhere that might offer a fresh start. Jackson Reed didn't believe in fate. At 41, the self-made millionaire rancher had built his empire through calculated risks and unwavering determination after growing up in grinding poverty. His 100,000-acre Reed Ranch employed half the county, yet most only knew him as a shadow, the intimidating figure who rarely ventured into town except for essential business. Tonight was different. Something had pulled him toward the station after midnight, a restlessness he couldn't explain as he drove his weathered pickup through the deserted streets. When Jackson's headlights illuminated Emma's slender figure on the platform, something shifted in his universe. She stood tall despite obvious distress, dignity intact even as she shivered violently in the 15-degree night. He wasn't a man given to impulsive decisions, yet he found himself pulling over, rolling down his window. "Station's closed until morning," he called out, his deep voice carrying across the empty parking lot. "Temperatures dropping below zero tonight." Emma turned, startled by the sudden voice. Even through her exhaustion, she recognized him immediately. Everyone in 3 counties knew Jackson Reed's face, though few had exchanged more than a sentence with the man. "I'm aware," she replied, pride making her voice sharper than intended. "I missed the last train." The stubbornness in her eyes stirred something in Jackson. It reminded him of himself, that refusal to bend even when everything had been lost. "I've got a guest house on my property," he heard himself saying. "You can stay tonight, head wherever you're going tomorrow." Under normal circumstances, Emma would never have accepted a ride from a stranger, millionaire or not. But as another violent shiver racked her body, survival instinct overrode caution. "How do I know you're not a serial killer?" she asked, a hint of gallows humor in her voice. For the first time in years, Jackson laughed, a genuine sound that surprised them both. "Too busy for serial killing," he responded. "Ranch keeps me occupied." That first night at Reed Ranch changed everything. Emma had intended to sleep and leave at first light, but when Jackson discovered she was a nurse, he mentioned the desperate shortage of medical professionals in their rural county. The local clinic was overwhelmed, with residents often driving 2 hours to the nearest hospital. By morning, what began as temporary shelter had transformed into a tentative job offer. Emma could stay in the guest house and provide medical care to his ranch workers and their families while she figured out her next steps. Emma wasn't looking for charity, and Jackson wasn't offering it. Their arrangement was practical, born of mutual need rather than sentiment. Yet as days turned to weeks, something unexpected blossomed between the hardened rancher and the dedicated nurse. They were 2 people who had stopped believing in fairy tales long ago, finding in each other a kindred resilience that neither had encountered before. The ranch hands noticed it first, how their boss lingered around the makeshift clinic Emma had established in a converted barn office, how his perpetual scowl softened when she challenged his opinions, which she did frequently and without apology. For her part, Emma found herself drawn to Jackson's unflinching honesty and the gentle way he cared for injured animals, a tenderness at odds with his intimidating reputation. Their first real conversation happened over lukewarm coffee after Emma had stayed up all night treating a ranch hand's child with dangerous fever. Jackson had found her dozing in a chair at dawn, her medical bag still open beside her. "You could have called me," he said, placing the mug before her. Emma's eyes opened slowly, exhaustion evident in every movement. "You needed sleep more than I did. You've been working 16-hour days all week. So have you." His observation wasn't accusatory, merely factual. "I'm used to it." She sipped the coffee gratefully. In the ER, 48-hour shifts weren't uncommon. "Is that why you were fired? Pointing out impossible expectations?" Emma's gaze sharpened. "You checked up on me?" Jackson didn't apologize. "I have a responsibility to everyone on this ranch. I was fired because I refused to certify that we could safely operate with half the required nursing staff," she answered, respect blooming for his directness. "A patient died because we were stretched too thin. Administration wanted me to sign paperwork saying staffing wasn't a factor. And you wouldn't lie. Not even to save my career." That morning marked a turning point. They recognized in each other something rare, an uncompromising commitment to what they believed right, regardless of personal cost. Neither had met someone who understood this particular loneliness before. As spring thawed the Montana landscape, Emma's temporary role evolved. Word spread about the skilled nurse at Reed Ranch, and soon locals from surrounding areas began appearing at the converted barn, seeking medical help they couldn't afford or access elsewhere. Without discussion, Jackson expanded the space, ordering equipment and supplies without Emma's knowledge until trucks began arriving. Their first fight erupted when she discovered what he'd done. "I don't need your charity," she fumed, standing amidst crates of medical supplies. Jackson's expression darkened. "This isn't about you. This community needs healthcare. You need proper equipment to provide it. You can't just make decisions like this without consulting me." "It's my money and my property," he countered, the wall between them suddenly visible again. Emma stepped closer, unflinching. "And my professional reputation. My skills. My time." They stood at an impasse until Jackson did something that changed everything. He apologized. "You're right," he conceded, the words clearly unfamiliar on his tongue. "I should have discussed it with you. I'm not used to partnerships." The word hung between them, heavy with implication. What had begun as convenience was becoming something neither had anticipated. By summer, the makeshift clinic had become official, the Reed Ranch Rural Health Center, with Emma as its director. Jackson had legally transferred the converted barn and surrounding acre into a non-profit foundation, ensuring the clinic's future regardless of their personal arrangement. The gesture told Emma everything about his character that words couldn't express. Their first kiss happened during a violent thunderstorm that knocked out power across the ranch. Emma had been inventorying supplies by flashlight when Jackson appeared in the doorway, rain-soaked and concerned. "Generators running for the essential buildings," he reported. "Thought you might need light." "I've got it covered," she replied, holding up her flashlight with a smile that transformed her exhausted face. Lightning illuminated the room, thunder following instantly. Neither could later say who moved first, only that suddenly the distance between them vanished. His calloused hands cradled her face with surprising gentleness, her fingers curled into his damp shirt. When their lips met, it felt inevitable, the natural conclusion to a conversation they'd been having without words for months. Their relationship developed with the same practical intensity that characterized everything they did. Neither was given to grand romantic gestures or flowery declarations. Instead, love manifested in countless small moments, Jackson bringing coffee exactly how she liked it during long clinic hours, Emma leaving notes about the ranch operations she'd observed needed attention while he was away on business, the way they naturally aligned their schedules to end each day together on the porch, watching the sun set over the mountains. News of their relationship spread through the county like wildfire. The unlikely pair, the taciturn millionaire and the outspoken nurse, became reluctant local celebrities. Most approved, seeing how they balanced each other perfectly, but some resented Emma's sudden prominence and the changes she inspired. The greatest challenge came from Jackson's past. His rise from poverty to wealth hadn't been without casualties. Former business partner Vincent Crawford had nursed a decade-long grudge after Jackson bought him out of their initial cattle venture just before it exploded in value. When Vincent learned about Emma and the clinic, he saw an opportunity for revenge. Anonymous complaints began flooding the state medical board about Emma practicing beyond her credentials. Clinic funding mysteriously fell through. Rumors circulated about Jackson's business practices, threatening contracts with major beef distributors. The pressure mounted until Emma discovered Vincent's daughter in the clinic waiting room, desperately seeking help for a high-risk pregnancy after being turned away from the regional hospital for lack of insurance. This moral dilemma tested everything Emma and Jackson had built. Helping Vincent's daughter meant potentially giving their enemy leverage. Turning her away violated everything the clinic, and Emma, stood for. "We help her," Jackson said without hesitation when Emma brought the situation to him. "This isn't about Vincent." That decision changed everything. When complications arose during delivery, Emma's quick thinking saved both mother and child. Vincent arrived at the clinic to find Jackson holding his newborn granddaughter while Emma monitored his daughter's recovery. The barriers of pride and resentment that had fueled their feud for years crumbled in the face of this simple human moment. "I don't deserve your help," Vincent admitted gruffly. "But I won't forget this." True to his word, Vincent became an unexpected ally. The complaints disappeared. His connections in state government helped secure permanent licensing for the clinic. The three former adversaries formed an unlikely partnership that transformed healthcare access throughout rural Montana, eventually creating a network of small clinics serving previously neglected communities. As their one-year anniversary of meeting at the train station approached, Jackson and Emma's story had already inspired change far beyond their relationship. Their clinic model was being studied by rural communities across the country. What began as a chance encounter between two stubborn individuals had sparked a movement. On the exact date Emma had stood freezing on that platform, Jackson brought her back to the now-renovated Coldwater Junction station. The building had been converted into the region's first 24-hour emergency medical center, funded by the Reed Foundation but operated independently by a board that included both medical professionals and community members. "I never believed in silver linings," Jackson told her as they stood where they'd first met. "When my parents lost our farm, when I worked 18-hour days for years just to stay afloat, I thought life was just a series of hardships to overcome." Emma squeezed his hand. "And I never believed in being rescued. I was always the one doing the rescuing." "That's just it," he replied, pulling a small box from his pocket. "We didn't rescue each other. We recognized each other. Two people who wouldn't bend, wouldn't break, no matter what life threw at us." The diamond ring inside was elegant but practical, like the woman he'd chosen it for. "This isn't a fairy tale ending," he continued. "It's a beginning. There will be more challenges, more battles worth fighting. I'm asking if you want to face them together, officially." Emma's answer came without hesitation, the same decisiveness that had characterized every important choice in her life. "Yes," she said simply. "There's no one I'd rather have beside me." Their wedding 6 months later united the entire county, ranch hands and medical staff, wealthy ranchers and struggling farmers, all gathering to celebrate not just a marriage but a vision of what community could be when people put aside differences for the greater good. Today, the Reed Rural Health Network serves 14 counties across 3 states. Emma and Jackson divide their time between overseeing their expanding healthcare initiatives and the ranch operations that still form the financial backbone of their work. Their story has been featured in national media, studied in business schools, and held up as an example of how private wealth can address public needs without exploiting vulnerable populations. But those who know them best understand that their greatest achievement isn't measured in clinics built or lives saved, but in the relationship they've forged, two fiercely independent souls who found in each other not completion, but amplification of their best qualities. Their love story made history not because it was perfect, but because it was purposeful, a partnership that looked beyond personal happiness to create lasting change. As Emma often tells the medical students who now rotate through their flagship clinic, the most important moment of my life looked like absolute disaster. I had lost everything and was literally freezing in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes rock bottom is actually the foundation upon which you can build something extraordinary, but only if you remain true to yourself when it would be easier to compromise. Jackson and Emma's story reminds us that true love isn't about grand gestures or perfect timing. Sometimes, it's about two people with unwavering principles finding each other against impossible odds and choosing, day after day, to build something larger than themselves. Their legacy isn't just their relationship, but the thousands of lives improved because two stubborn individuals refused to give up on their values, or on each other. If you've been moved by their journey, remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more extraordinary stories that remind us how a single encounter can change not just two lives, but an entire community. Sometimes, the most powerful love stories aren't found in fiction, but in the quiet determination of real people facing real challenges with courage, integrity, and an unwavering commitment to making a difference, together.